Welcome to The Authority File, the podcast that features conversations about the life cycle of scholarly communication. I'm Bill Mickey, the editorial director at Choice. We talk a lot about open access on this podcast, and models for open access monographs are an especially interesting topic for us. We've been fortunate enough to have MIT Press guest for several series to talk about its direct-to-open program, a collective funding model that opens the press's monographs across STEM and the humanities. Over the last few years, we've talked about its origins, launch, and progress, but no matter who we're talking to regarding open access, we typically only speak anecdotally about one of the most important participants in OA monograph publishing, researchers themselves. Well, that changes with this four-part series underwritten by our friends at MIT Press, where we discuss the benefits that authors see from publishing their texts via the direct-to-open model, and some of these benefits might be ones you haven't thought of. Joining me in this series are Dr. Janaki Srinivasan, Associate Professor of Digital South Asian Studies at the University of Oxford's Internet Institute and author of The Political Lives of Information. David Kunkel, Professor of Media Studies at Northern Illinois University and author of Person, Thing, Robot, a 2024 Choice Outstanding Academic Title. And Amy Harris, MIT Press Senior Manager, Library Relations and Sales. In this first episode, we get a refresher on the D2O publishing model and David's initial interest in publishing OA as an author and researcher. Okay, Amy and David, welcome to the program.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Sure. So, Amy, it's been a while since we've had MIT on the program. Can you just quickly provide a refresher on the direct-to-open program? What has MIT Press been up to in the past few years?
Of course. So the MIT Press has been publishing open access books since 1995. But for most of those years, we were publishing OA books on a title-by-title or, small subject collection basis. We've also understood for decades that the business model for research monographs is broken. The scholarly books that used to sell over 1,000 copies in, say, the 1990s are selling a couple hundred copies today. That trend has simply continued for years. At the same time, we and other publishers observed that when titles are open access, they're read and cited more. They reach audiences beyond the academy more often and with greater ease. And what's more, in direct contradiction to the dire narrative about research monographs being in decline and works in the humanities and social sciences in particular, the OA books were having a real impact. We observed that the problem wasn't the content of the books, perhaps, it was the business model for the books. So as a university-based press, we started thinking seriously about how and where we could better support these works, which are a core part of our mission. And the work really accelerated after our director and publisher, Amy Brand, returned to the press in 2015. And it was about in 2019 that we began a project to design a model that we could use to open our entire slate of new monographs at scale immediately upon publication. We received a generous grant from the Arcadia Foundation and worked really closely with consultant Rain Crow of Chainbridge Group over 3 years. At the end of it, we created a model that fit our specifications, and the result is direct to open, or as we call it colloquially, D2O. The way it works in really simple terms is that libraries agree to support the program during a given calendar year. They pay a fee. That revenue is used to make the monographs that we publish in the program that year open access without book processing charges. That was important to us too, that neither the reader nor the author would pay for the work to be open, and that D2O be a true diamond model. It also is an added incentive and benefit. Supporting institutions receive a year of free subscription access to a backlist collection of paywalled or toll access monographs. It's up to about 2,400 titles. And we really wanted this to be an offer that libraries could take to have a chance to switch from buying our books paywalled just for their collection to funding them once open access for the world. Mm-hmm. That was what we were trying to accomplish.
Awesome. And then if I remember correctly, you've met your threshold, in terms of the number of subscribers that you need to open the books every single year so far, right?
We have. Yeah. I'm delighted to say it's still kind of amazing to me, but for 4 years, we have made it The first 2 years, we did extend our deadline. We needed a little more time as we kind of gained momentum with the
Hmm.
model. But this year and the year prior, we reached our funding goal by our deadline, which was fabulous.
Awesome. Um, so when signing up for D2O, it looks like libraries can choose to support one of two subject collections, humanities and social sciences, or STEAM, which is STEM plus art and design, or the complete collection. Can you talk about any trends you're seeing in those, decisions that libraries are making in terms of what they're subscribing to?
Yes, that's right, and I certainly can. We offer libraries a choice, and there's a very clear trend. Over 95% of our participating libraries every year choose to support the complete collection. We've had
Wow.
remarkably little uptake rather on the subject collections, which was really a surprise to us. That was not something that we anticipated when we were designing the model. We thought that more libraries would choose the subject collections, either because it was a better fit given their institutional focus, their programs, or because of the lower price point. Some librarians have told me that they supported the complete collection because they wanted to support what we are doing 100%. This is the change that they want to see in the world, and they're using their budget dollars to take a stand. And I also think that there are likely acquisition workflow efficiencies that may be appealing to some institutions. For example, if you already purchase a lot of MIT Press books, when you take the MIT Press complete collection, you can turn us off an approval plan, or have that be a workflow efficiency for your library.
Hmm.
And overall, even though it thwarted some of our clever calculations and all of the shortfall scenarios that Rame and the folks at the press were laboring over when we were designing Direct to Open, this trend has really helped us reach our goals faster. We're
Hmm.
tremendously grateful for the strong support from libraries and consortia that have helped us achieve these goals for all 4 years, and the result has been extremely positive. We've been able to fund 320 new open access books with no embargo. We feel like we're better serving our authors and their work, and we're adding more high quality research to the global knowledge commons, and that's something I'm tremendously proud of.
Excellent. So have you, given the sort of surprising result in the whole collection being purchased? I mean, have you made any internal adjustments as a result of that, or just kind of, maybe in terms of marketing or anything like that? I'm guessing.
Hmm. Well, we certainly, at one point in those first 2 years, because a lot of our shortfall scenarios depended on there being differential support for the two subject collections, that the first 2 years we were scrambling, thinking everybody's supporting the complete collection. Would it be fair to use these shortfall scenarios and open one collection over another?
Mhm.
And that was what led us to what we eventually did, which is where we opened the titles by season, by publishing season, because we felt like there was support for the whole collection, just not maybe all of the books that we had in it for that year. But
Mhm.
I'm really pleased to say that with time we were able to reach our goals and go forward. But did I quite get at what you were asking?
Yeah, yeah. I guess I was just trying to get at, like, did you have to make any adjustments along the way in terms of, what you've discovered in terms of your customer base?
Oh yes, well, I think so many things from how to deal with licensing to the things that we've discussed. It's been a journey of discovery,
Hmm.
and we've shared with a lot of publishers our experiences. I think we've published a bit about it,
Yep.
but we wanted this to be something that we could share with the community.
Excellent. So, David, over to you. I'm curious to see, were you always, interested in publishing your book OA, or did the opportunity come up, during the publication process?
Yeah, so I've been involved in open access publishing, but mainly on the journal side,
Hmm.
which I think a lot of people know OA specifically on the way it has been rolled out for journals.
Yeah.
And I had helped found a Diamond Open Access journal, a number of years ago, and was committed to having an approach to open access that was a diamond level, where you didn't have to have authors pay, especially because we were publishing mostly in the humanities. And
Yeah.
in the humanities, there's not a lot of deep pockets and not a lot of grant funding. And it means that if authors have to pay, then they are sometimes paying out of pocket in some cases, or they're having to beg and go to their library administrators and say, oh, please, can you help make this open access? So I've had this experience on the journal side, and I was kind of getting frustrated with exactly what Amy had described. This is this idea that we can publish books, but there's something about that distribution model that we inherited and that had worked for decades that was just no longer serving its purpose. And the books were not selling as much. They were not reaching the right users and readers. And as a result, I was discovering that the model of publishing was really a impediment to getting the research in the hands of readers.
Mhm.
So when my editor, Philip Laughlin at MIT Press, came to me and said, we got this new D2O program. Might you be interested in that? And I jumped on it immediately because it really spoke to my own set of values in publishing, but it also spoke to what I saw as being an answer to some of the challenges that academic publishers and authors of research were facing in the 21st century.
Excellent. So, your book, Person, Thing, Robot, which came out in 2023, focuses on the moral and legal aspects of robots with an emphasis on AI law and policy. Can you draw connections between this research and your decision to publish your book, OA? And how does open publishing factor into the rapidly changing AI legal environment?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think the most important thing is that publishing open access lowers the bar to global inclusion and accessibility. A lot of the research in AI ethics, robot ethics, all this sort of high-tech emerging technology business is happening in Europe and in North America. But there's great interest in the global south and elsewhere across the globe. AI is not a technology that belongs to any one region of the globe. It belongs, to the globe in total. And getting research documentation available to students, scholars, and educators across the entire world has always been a real challenge because I would have researchers or students in various parts of South America or in Africa say, I'm really interested in your book. How can I get a hold of it? Because my library doesn't carry it. And if I order it, it's more expensive to have it shipped than the cover price of the book.
Right.
And, that gets in the way of people being able to access the research and then become contributors to the research with their own work and their own publications. And so open access titles that are available online in an easy PDF that's downloadable makes it instantly accessible to anyone who is looking to not only read your research, but engage it in a way that extends the state of the art in research and opens up, I think, a field that could be very closed and very siloed to a much broader set of voices, much broader set of cultures and backgrounds. And just, I think in the long run, just invigorates the research in a way that you wouldn't have if you were dependent on the sort of prior model of research being done in, paper-bound books that are only available for purchase.
You just heard from David Gunkel, professor of media studies at Northern Illinois University and author of Person, Thing, Robot, a 2024 Choice Outstanding Academic Title, and Amy Harris, MIT Press Senior Manager, Library Relations and Sales. Join us next week when David elaborates on the benefits that authors, readers, and the research ecosystem receive from OA publishing models. This episode was brought to you with generous support from MIT Press. As always, underwriting opportunities for the Authority File podcast are directed by Choice's advertising director, Pam Marino, and all of our episodes are produced and edited by Choice's digital media producer, Sabrina Kofer, with support from digital media assistant, Ashley Roy. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.